Alright, so we're going to do a short video about Russia. I feel like Russia, as far as my channel is concerned, is a bit of an untapped resource, and I was able to come across a large collection, so this is going to be part one of possibly many videos about Russia. And as we all know, Russia today, or nowadays Russia, is essentially part of what used to be the Tartarian Empire, and obviously probably one of the best places on earth to see existing examples of Tartarian architecture, and more specifically even Tartarian culture. And as we see here in this photograph of this young girl, we see the old world mystique just popping out here with the architecture, the manner of dress, the carriage there in the back. I mean, I decided to open with this photo just because it's a very captivating image. And, you know, like I said, this is going to be a short video, but one of many. And here we have an example of new and old. So we have the emerging automobile in the foreground with the old Tartarian onion dome structures in the background, and also a castle-like cathedral. I mean, you know, this is a pretty good one if you ask me, because you see the primitive technology. You know, automobiles at the time were touted as the pinnacle of technology, but to me, the architecture was a greater feat than a silly car. You know, it just shows that there's proof of the resets right here. You know, silly car, you know, and then great architecture. So that's pretty funny, in my opinion. You know, we have these crude jalopies touted as the pinnacle of technology, when in reality the architecture, the construction, the buildings were actually more technologically advanced in perspective. But yeah, that's another video. And then here, speaking of technology, we obviously have some Antiquatech here, radio towers or some type of signal. And then I've never seen a lantern or street light like this before. If anybody knows kind of what the deal with this is, let me know. But then once again, we kind of see the present for the time mixed with the old. You know, we see weathered, aged concrete, probably Roman concrete. And then we see this here, and you know, and like I said, it's like everywhere else in the world at the time. You know, San Francisco, New York, Chicago, St. Louis, what have you. It's all kind of the same deal. You know, different culture, different part of the world, but the same general vibe is going on. And obviously this was pre-communist Russia. This is pre-Bolshevik revolution, obviously. So there's something to be said about that. And then here we have an old cemetery crypt, mausoleum, something. Here we have Russian. I don't speak Russian, so if anybody knows what that says, leave it in the comments. But then here what I think is French, la mausolée au cimetière des Grands. I don't know. I would imagine mausoleum and cemetery. But I included it in this video because I've never seen coffins like this before. If anybody knows the deal with this shape or what's going on in this picture exactly, but here we obviously see old world construction here. You can tell just by looking at it, you can tell by the patina that this is a very old structure here, and just a general kind of creepy old world, you know, thing. But what intrigued me the most, like I said, is these these caskets here, these coffins are, never seen anything like that before. So, I think that there's, I mean, to be honest with you guys, I've never seen a photograph like this before. Never seen anything even similar to this photograph. This is a very weird photograph, but if anybody knows anything more about it, let me know. Moving on. So here we have some classic, just grandiose, over the top, Tartarian, sorry about that, Tartarian style architecture here. And, I mean, there's so much in Russia. I mean, this is just literally like the surface of what I found. So there'll be many videos about Russia off and on this channel, just because the sheer enormity of the evidence that we have. And I mean, it's a gold mine for old world clues. So with that said, and then here, now see, this one I included primarily because I've never seen so many onion domes on one structure. I mean, this one has a few, but this one is just totally infected with onion domes. So if anybody knows why this one has so many domes, obviously it's an Orthodox church, or at least it was converted to one at some point, but obviously there's evidence to suggest that that's not always what it was. But who knows? And then this is a very old photograph. Not exactly sure how old, but I can tell just by looking at it, just the kind of general tone and grain. I would say this could be even 1840s, 1850s. But anyways. And then here I have this one's pretty muddy. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but it seems to me like it's a very old building, and then possibly, this is a bit of a stretch because it's such a low quality, but what I'm thinking is somewhere down here in the foreground would be the original, and then they dug it out here. This could be a harbor, but something about this photograph, it just kind of seems like buried. It just kind of gives me that impression that there's something underneath these buildings. But it could just be an illusion, it could just be a trick of the eye. But that's the general kind of vibe it gives me, is that there's something hidden, something buried under here. And like I said, I don't know what this is. This could be a harbor, could be after, a storm or a disaster of some sort. I'm not sure exactly, but regardless, it's an interesting photograph just because of the architecture here. And just has a kind of a weird vibe to it. So, and we're gonna see that a lot with these Russian videos that I'm gonna be doing. These Russian photography is there's something about it. I guess it's because Russia's kind of got this mystique about it, especially old world Russia, especially early 20th century Russia. So, anyways, with that said, moving on. And then once again, if anybody knows how to speak or read Russian, let me know in the comments what some of these photograph captions are. But the reason I included this one is because it reminds me a lot of a hotel in San Francisco of the same time period. I think it was called the Palace Hotel or the Grand Palace Hotel, something like that, in San Francisco, that is no longer there, but it has a similar construction, obviously. And that's the other interesting thing that we see going on in the early 1900s, late 1800s, is regardless of where you were on the planet, if there was a sizable population, you had pretty much the same exact architecture. And then we see windows on the floor here, arches, more arches here, grand facade, just very fancy gutters, some type of mysterious tower up here, and then the horses. horses. And then, so like I said, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, St. Louis, all the same kind of thing, just big buildings and no explanation. And then once again, very, very similar to San Francisco and New York construction, same kind of masonry, low windows, some kind of Antiquatech here, always with the little rods on top of the arches and the towers, on the peaks, some stuff looming back here, and no people, of course, and that's just the way it goes. So like I said, it's a short video, and I'm going to close with this one, mostly because it's another kind of mysterious thing here where we have, and this is actually in the Czech Republic, but I included it because Czechoslovakia was part of the Soviet Union. This was obviously before the Soviet Union, but regardless, the same geographical area and proximity. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit because it's low quality, and it's very similar to what was going on in New York at the same time with these open air markets. Why was it all out in the open like this when we had storefronts? Now one could argue that these people couldn't afford storefronts, that they didn't have storefronts, but just the bedlam that's occurring here, just the chaos. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just very convoluted. But then you have these ornate structures, but then you have such a ragtag operation going on here. Everybody just kind of seems like they're wandering around. And we see that kind of common theme no matter where you were in the world, is that everyone seems bewildered and everything's kind of disorganized, but yet you have these beautiful cities already all built out and perfectly straight roads. And this kind of leads some credence to the Inheritor theory, because the people and their behavior literally do not match the architecture and the infrastructure. And that's all I'm going to say about it tonight. It's just really think about it a little bit, how much it doesn't correlate, how much it doesn't really jive with each other. So anyways, like I said, it's going to be a short one, so I'm going to leave it with that. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.